Hey yo, free my boy Rakim! So 2 days ago, Big Daddy Peggy dropped the director's cut of his 2024 album, I Laid Down My Life For You. A great project that blended hip hop and rock into a solid body of work. I was gonna put out a video basically reviewing the director's cut, but then I realized there are literally different versions of it depending on the streaming platform you used. Classic Peggy. So yeah, in this video I'm going to go into all the differences I can find across the main versions of I Laid Down My Life For You. It's not going to be as in-depth as my LP video, but for people who want to know some of the main differences, it should serve that purpose at like a baseline level, kind of front face, surface type of level. One quick rule before we start, my longtime viewers know this very well, but I am a human being. A very dumb one to be exact. I'm gonna miss quite a few things, okay? I have the attention span of a 2-year-old. That's why I rely on you guys, the viewers, to help point out and share anything I may have missed or overlooked down in the comments below. Or if you just want to say anything, no matter how random or weird it is, share it. You know I'm gonna heart everything. But yeah, let's tackle this bad boy. So, I Laid Down My Life For You originally had 14 tracks, but the director's cut on Spotify bumped it up to a whopping 21 tracks, and adding in the second disc gives you about 28 tracks total. However, I'm going to focus on disc 1 for now. If you're a bit of an older fan of Peggy, him going back to 21 tracks is pretty much on brand. Black Ben Carson and Veteran were both 19 tracks, All My Heroes 18, LP 20, and now we're back at 21. Peak. There were a few changes made with the director's cut, especially the track listing, so let's just go into them briefly by starting with the covers. On Spotify, the OG cover looks like it takes place at night. It definitely has a nocturnal feel to it. Peggy seems to be in this foresty area, wearing a shiesty with Japanese symbols, a puffy jacket, and a cross by his right, our left. His eyes are closed, probably from that bright ass light flashing in his face, and of course his little mouse is at the left of the album cover. So adorable. On the director's cut, it's day and Peggy seems to be vibing by this mountainous valley type of area. Very beautiful scenery. He's got on this black jacket, savvy ass top hat. I ain't gonna lie, my boy looking like a voodoo priest. Like, he looks like he studies dark magic at Hogwarts. Like, this nigga look like he be talking to demons. Straight up looking like a drug dealer who be lacing his shit with elephant tusk. Aura forming his shit. It's tough, I can't lie, it's tough. Like, no hating shit. Of course, he's leaning closer to the cross now, face looking down, covered in shadows, his computer mouse on the right side of the screen. This nigga looks like death. Okay, just drip the fuck out. All right, I'll stop. Also, if you check the Bandcamp version, the OG I Laid Down My Life For You is the same as the YouTube thumbnail, like if we're talking about the OG cover, just Peggy in his shiesty holding a wrestling belt. There's city lights behind him, and of course his eyes are closed. Covers are raw as fuck, we move. On YouTube, the OG audio visuals for the songs in the album are a mix of red and blue, but for the exclusive songs in the director's cut, they're green. Only on YouTube though. Crazy, right? Alright, so let's revisit the track listing before things get a bit confusing if they already weren't. The original I Laid Down My Life For You on Bandcamp and Spotify has 14 tracks, right? Well, if you have the vinyl version, then you're getting 15 tracks with some songs having extended parts. If you want to listen to the vinyl version, I suggest checking out this video by The Masked Grin. It's pretty wild. Now for the director's cut on Spotify, we have 21 tracks for disc 1, plus 7 tracks for disc 2, giving us 28 tracks in total, right? But on the Bandcamp version, disc 2 of the director's cut has an extra track, putting it at 29 songs in total. Stay with me, you're killing it. Even crazier, the director's cut on Spotify doesn't have the same extended outros as the vinyl version, but the director's cut on Bandcamp has some of the same extended outros as the vinyl version, plus its own exclusive outros for some of the new tracks that the Spotify version doesn't have. Are you following? Yeah, Peggy seems to have a favorite when it comes to his musical platforms. Now let's compare the track listing. Trust me, it'll get easier. Other than the covers, the Spotify and Bandcamp version of the OG I Laid Down My Life For You are basically the same thing, so I'm going to use the Bandcamp version to represent the OG. The director's cut on Spotify is its own thing, so I'm going to use the Spotify version for the second slot. And lastly, the director's cut of the Bandcamp version is also its own thing, so we're going to use that as well. If you aren't following, then hopefully I have like a diagram on the screen that makes it a bit easier to see. Trust me, I'm a visual learner myself. I think most of us are. Alright, enough jerking around. Let's do this.
You coked up a dope
Track 1 of the OG version has "I scream this in the mirror before I interact with anyone," clocking in at 1 minute and 48 seconds. However, the director's cut on Spotify and Bandcamp have this first track called IS-231. I'm pretty sure it's the name of a school. I don't know if it's like this in any of the states, but like in New York City, we have schools that follow the same format. For example, I went to PS-153 as a child. It's a whole system, trust me. IS-231 runs at 49 seconds on both versions, and it has what I assume is Peggy as a child singing this melody most Caribbean and probably most Black Americans sang growing up. Not gonna lie, that shit hit me like a wave of nostalgia, like damn. Track 2 for both director's cut gives us "I Scream This Into a Mirror." However, Spotify's version is the exact same as the OG version, while Bandcamp has an extended outro that goes on for almost a minute, super similar to the vinyl version, Peak. Now on track 2 for the OG version, we have Sin Miedo, but for the director's cut on both versions, we get Protect the Cross, a new exclusive. The OG version does not have this song, okay? Protect the Cross is practically the same for both the Bandcamp and Spotify versions, so we're good on this for now. Track 4 for both versions of the director's cut gives us Sin Miedo, and thankfully they're also practically identical to one another. I should point out, however, that Spotify usually compresses the audio of these songs while Bandcamp does not. Some food for thought. Track 5 of the director's cut gives us "I'll Be Right There," which lines up perfectly with track 3 of the OG version, "I'll Be Right There." Also, just like Sin Miedo, they're all practically identical to one another. Now, track 4 of the OG version goes into "It's Dark and Hell is Hot," but on the director's cut, we get our third exclusive, "Jordan Rules," which rolls in on track 6. Just remember, anything that's exclusive for the director's cut does not show up on the OG version of "I Lay Down My Life for You," alright? Now, Jordan Rules has a 30-second intro on the Bandcamp version, which the Spotify version lacks. Why? I couldn't tell you. Moving on to track 7, we have "It's Dark and Hell is Hot," which, if you remember, is track 4 on the OG version, and thankfully all versions are identical to each other. Next, for all versions, we get the banger of a song, "New Black History" featuring Vince Staples, track 5 for the OG and track 8 for both Spotify and Bandcamp. However, while the OG version goes into "Don't Rely on Other Men" for track 6, track 9 for both the Spotify and Bandcamp versions are a new exclusive called "Code Status." You might have seen the music video for that just come out. Code Status is basically a continuation of the beat that plays during the end of New Black History, except the song itself is longer on the Bandcamp version than the Spotify version. If my memory serves me correctly, the Bandcamp version has an outro that extends for like 20 extra seconds. Track 10 for the director's cut gives us "Don't Rely on Other Men," the album version, not the single/music video version. If you remember, the OG version has "Don't Rely on Other Men" in place as track 6. Just like the director's cut, it's the album version, not the single version, and it runs at the same playtime as well. Track 7 of the OG version then goes into the banger "Vulgar Display of Power." However, the director's cut of both versions have the song "Coke or Dope" as their 11th track, and as you've probably guessed, it's another exclusive. Now, I personally like that "Coke or Dope" is track 11 for the director's cut, because following track 11, "Vulgar Display of Power" is track 12 for both versions, and as you know, the sound effect "Coke or Dope" plays in the beginning, showing some form of continuity. However, "Coke or Dope," which is track 11, is different for both the Spotify and Bandcamp versions. As you've probably guessed by now, the Bandcamp version is longer. First things first, we're gonna skip around a bit. Jihad Joe is track 9 on the OG version, but for the director's cut, it only comes in on the second disc. Now, you remember the 2 heavy riff sections in Jihad Joe? Let me play for y'all. Well, it actually makes an appearance on "Coke or Dope." However, on the Bandcamp version, after the first riff section finishes, we have this mini section of someone playing a guitar at the 2 minute and 13-second mark. That's not available for the Spotify version, and it's why the Bandcamp version is nearly 30 seconds longer. Got it? Nice. No need to go over "Vulgar Display of Power." It's the same on all versions. Still check it out though, it's my favorite track off this bitch. Track 8 of the OG version gives us "Ex-Military," which is identical to track 13 on both versions of the director's cut, "Peak." Track 9 for the OG, like we've already said before, is "Jihad Joe," and then track 10 gives us "JPEG Ultra." JPEG Ultra is on track 14 for both director's cut, and from what I've seen, it's basically the same on all versions. Track 15 for both versions of the director's cut gives us another exclusive, the title track named I Laid Down My Life For You. And what do you know, the Bandcamp version is longer. Okay, to be fair, it's only a 4-second difference, with the Bandcamp version playing this quick yet beautiful piece of music. For once I wish it was actually longer. Track 16 of the director's cut for both versions gives us Boy You Should Know, another exclusive which on paper seems identical to one another, so I'll skip over it for now. Don't forget to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong though. So just an editor's note, for the next section, if I don't show too much detail, don't worry. Basically the rest of the songs for the rest of the album are kind of the same, at least for the rest of the OG album. Everything is just kind of the same. It seems like Peggy didn't really change much. So yeah, enjoy. Finally, track 17 of the director's cut gives us Either On or Off Drugs, with both versions being identical to the OG one. Peak. Loop and Leave It comes in on track 12 for the OG, and track 18 for both versions of the director's cut. On paper, it looks exactly the same, so we move. Next, for all versions, we get Don't Put Anything on the Bible. Again, it's all the same, so we can move. Although I think it's interesting how Peggy decided to basically keep these latter tracks the way they are, instead of like really changing them around or adding extra stuff. Can't help but wonder why. Finally, we get I Recovered From This, which again is the same on all versions, and with that, we've basically finished the OG tape. Both versions of the director's cut gives us Allah, which comes in at track 21, and for the most part, has no difference in terms of sound. And with that, we've basically finished the first disc of the director's cut. Congratulations, you've made it this far. Should I do an intermission? Yeah, we're going to do an intermission. Be right back. And for those who want to click off, I hope to see you soon. Alright, peace. I cannot understand the fear in your heart. When I am lost, I feel in your heart. Now, disc 2 comes with tracks exclusive to the director's cut, with the exclusion of Jihad Joe, which is already on the OG. Disc 2 feels more like a love letter to the fans, with Peggy officially releasing leaks that have been circulating in his community for a while. Listen, you gotta love him for that. Disc 2 starts off with the banger What the Hip Hop Hell Is This, which from my own knowledge was supposed to be on the original LP from way back. From what I've heard, there's really no difference between both versions, except Bandcamp's having like 3 extra seconds of silence towards the end. Track 23 gives us Come and Get Me, which is actually from the 15th track of the vinyl. Remember the OG I Laid Down My Life For You vinyl, which I mentioned towards like the beginning of the video? Yeah, well, regardless, there really is no difference between both Bandcamp and Spotify versions. Track 24 gives us the banger Bloodline Freestyle 2022 demo. For my fans who've watched my other vids, y'all know I love the Wendy's lunch break off of the Lisa tape. Bro, that shit slaps so fucking hard. Although I can't lie, I do miss Enzo's vocals. Track 25 gives us the long-awaited reunion of Freaky and Peggy, labeled Hate, same on both versions, not much to see here. Track 26 is the Take An instrumental, same on both versions, Peak. And finally we have track 27 on the Bandcamp version, solely exclusive to the Bandcamp site. It's Tour Idea Feb 1st, 2025 demo, banger. But yeah, after that it's just the single version of Don't Rely on Other Men and Jihad Joe, all Peak. Y'all get the gist. But yeah, that's a quick summary. Like I said before, I wouldn't really be diving too deeply into the details of this album. I'll just be looking at the album from like a surface level. But yeah, anyways, here's my personal thoughts. I Laid Down My Life For You was pretty damn good, but I feel like the first half of the director's cut definitely solidified it amongst Peggy's discography. It was weird, fast-paced, packed with action, and really ever boring. My main qualms come with the more mellow section of this album, focusing on the latter songs. That's where I low-key started to clock out, as it felt like, at least to me, these songs dragged on just a bit longer than they have needed to. Don't get me wrong, I love Don't Put Anything in the Bible in the new track Allah, but everything else was just alright. However, I can't lie, I feel as if the second disc really stole the show for this album. Regardless, I can't complain because Peggy is always delivering peak, and it's exciting to see just how far he keeps on improving his skills. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed. I have a shit ton of videos I'm planning to release. I just don't know when I'm going to release them. I'm busy, like school, albums I gotta release, like there's a whole lot of shit going on, but we ball. I'm gonna figure it out. My reading level is fucking deteriorating. I can barely write anymore. I can barely do whatever. So yeah, your boy's gonna start reading again too. I don't know, I'm fucking rambling. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Say whatever the fuck you want to say in the comments. If you hate me, if you love me, I don't care. I'm gonna heart everything. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.